8-Man Extreme is always proud to be a part of FIRST, and the same is to be said about the Southeastern Extreme Conference. After its first year in existence, we are now proud to bring you the first ever Media Day, where coaches and players from across the football conference will join us to answer various questions and will also join us to give their insights heading into the 2023 campaign as each of the teams looks to have a fantastic run to head to potentially a conference championship and even better, a potential championship in Panama City Beach, Florida. Welcome to everyone watching around the world. I'm Spencer Thompson, joined alongside James Shannon and so many incredible coaches and players who will be with us in just a moment. Proud to be with you here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee from the Complete Studios. Well, we wanted to get a few things known to you all off of the bat. First off, unfortunately, Zion Christian is unable to join us today, as well as Sacred Heart of Jesus High School. Both teams had scheduling conflicts and were unable to join us for Media Day. Hopefully, they will be able to join us in 2024, but we, of course, wish them all the best heading into the 2023 football campaign, and more will be covered for them as we head into the rest of the high school 8-man football season. But we are proud to be joined by the other four member schools of the Southeastern Extreme Conference, including Tri-Cities Christian, Franklin Classical School, the Tennessee Heat, and the Freedom Cowboys have all made the venture out here to the Complete Studios to join us. So we are going to have some transitions in between, so I will be handling most of the media questions, and then, of course, the commissioner of the Southeastern Extreme Conference and the resident Pat McAfee of the 8-man football world, James Shannon, will be asking his, lack of a better word, outlandish questions. Actually, better, fun questions, because that's how we all know James Shannon likes to do things at the helm. And we'll, of course, introduce all the coaches as well as the players they have brought. For the most part, seniors. We have some juniors and sophomores who are present as well. And you think about, in high school, you don't get that much media exposure. You also don't get that much media training or media experience. So think about the opportunity that these players and coaches are getting, especially when a lot of them have aspirations to continue this going on to the next level in their careers. So it should be special. We, of course, follow in the footsteps of other conferences that have started to do this around the Southeast, and it should be a very fun day for media events, especially heading into the fun jamborees. We already had one last night. There's another jamboree being hosted tonight at Christian Community School, so should be special. All right, we're going to go ahead and transition to get Tri-Cities Christian as the first school who is going to be joining us. But first things first, we have a few words from the commissioner of the Southeastern Extreme Conference, Mr. James Shannon.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to the 2023 SEEC Media Day. Very excited to be able to do this, and honestly didn't know that it was going to work out, didn't know if everything was going to come together, but I want to give a big thank you first off to you guys for tuning in, and I want to give a big thank you also to the four member schools that were able to be here. As Spencer mentioned, Sacred Heart of Jesus High School was not able to make it, as well as Zion Christian Academy. But we're going to have a great time with the four teams that are here. There are the three teams from the SEEC North, that being the Tennessee Heat, Franklin Classical School, and Tri-Cities Christian Academy, and then also the defending conference champions from the South, the Freedom Cowboys. And it's a great group of teams. The thing about SEEC is, when we decided to start it, and I don't know, how many people have heard about the origins of it, but for years, probably since 2014, really the only option for 8-man football in terms of if you wanted to play in a conference or something, there was really only one option. And the problem is that not every program, not every school fits into that the kind of the I don't want to say cookie cutter, but kind of the way that the things are run. different programs, different teams, different schools have different missions sometimes. And so you really only had two options. You played in the conference or you played independent. Like I said, ever since about 2014 when the TAACS stopped supporting football, stopped sanctioning football. So when I was approached with starting this conference, actually it was 2021 was the first time. 2022 it got brought up again. And so after thinking about it, obviously there was already a lot on my plate with 8-Man Extreme. But it was very heavy on my heart to be able to do this because, these young men, they deserve the chance to play in a playoff situation, in a postseason situation for a championship. Just because the program they decide to play for or the fact that they're homeschooled, that should not affect that. And that should, whenever adults decide to interject themselves into, kids' athletics too much, then I think it really, really hurts the product and it hurts those kids as well in their opportunities to play on the field. So the chance to start SEEC, obviously very, very, I don't want to say nerve-wracking, but, again, a lot on the plate. And now you add on being a conference commissioner. But every coach in the conference, every program in the conference has been absolutely amazing in terms of working with me. We have guidelines. That's not a bylaws. That's not a constitution. It's guidelines. It's just some basic. One of our goals was to get rid of as much red tape as you possibly could. And so there are rules, but there's just not a lot of red tape. And the point of that is to give kids the opportunity to play. It's been covered before. Last year, Freedom Cowboys able to come into the conference, and they're able to help kids from Riverside Christian get a chance to play football. Last year, Franklin Classical was able to give a couple kids a chance to play football who go to school at schools that don't sponsor football, but they want the chance to play that. And again, it goes back to the fact that a kid should not have to change schools, should not have to go to a different school than the one that he and his parents believe he should be at. They shouldn't have to change schools to have the opportunity to play football. And at the same time, the school that kid goes to, even if it's 2 or 3 kids, sometimes those schools aren't interested in having anything to do with football. And so the old system was that they would have to join as a football member, pay the football fees, and then they could co-op with one of the teams that had an existing program. And again, it goes back to, it's so much red tape just for 2 or 3 kids. Really overcomplicating the process. So one of the biggest things we wanted to do with SEEC is, again, to recap, give kids the opportunity to play football without them having to change the school that they want to go to or feel led to go to, and that their parents feel led for them to go to. So it's been awesome to see kids get the opportunity to play ball. I mentioned it on the show Sunday, but Lighthouse Christian not able to have a program. And so some of their kids were able to go over and play for Franklin Classical. And got to see that last night, got to see those kids really work together and mesh together. And you love to see it. You love to see kids coming together for a common goal. And really that reflects on life. In life, people from different backgrounds, people from different ideologies, different beliefs, people from different, different ways of thinking. Sometimes they have to come together to get a goal together. And so, again, football is such a reflection of life. And anytime that you can help a kid learn a life lesson through football, that's a big deal. And I know it's kind of rambling, but anyway, so it's been such an honor again to be the commissioner for SEEC. The coach, I said it before, the coaches, the programs make it easy. They make it really, really easy. Last year we were able to have the SEEC championship, first ever at Zion Christian. Zion Christian did an amazing job of hosting it. And we will definitely be back this year to play the championship game at Zion Christian, regardless of who makes that game. So to be able to have a neutral site and a site like Zion where before maybe they were overlooked because of where they are or their facilities maybe, to have a member like that who steps up to the plate and has the facilities they do and can execute a game situation as well as they did, it's amazing. So But again, all the members have contributed in different ways, and so it's been a real honor to be the commissioner of the SEEC. And other conferences may claim to be the SEC. If they're the SEC, then we're the Big Ten. And again, I go back to if you go head to head with other conferences, I know it's not really a competition, but being a media guy, I have to look at the competition. If you go top teams versus top teams, our conference is one of the best conferences in the South. I would say top two. There's been great competition across the South, and obviously this year, I'm looking forward to seeing our teams kind of cross over and play other conferences. Tri-Cities Christian is going to go play some teams in South Carolina. Freedom Cowboys play teams from Alabama. Tennessee Heat plays teams from Alabama and Tennessee. Same for Freedom. Same for all the other teams in our conference. So to have that opportunity to kind of go head to head and see where our conference lies is great, and I love it. So without further ado,
I think it would not be fitting for this to be a media day for the conference if the commissioner were not asked a few questions by the media. So we have a few questions.
Well, hang on.
Final statement, of course.
We'll do that between teams. You can ask me a question between teams. Break the fourth wall. Spencer's right there. So we're going to break the fourth wall. But we'll do questions between teams coming up, and we'll do a question, and then I'll introduce the team coming up. So first team coming up, they are one of the newest football programs just in general. Used to have football, it died off, and then their head coach came in. They hired a head coach, and he has done amazing things with the program. For them to be a first-year team last year, I was very encouraged watching them and to see the growth and see the youth. They had an all-conference player. They had several players in the Rising Star, can't even talk. Gatlinburg Rising Stars game. They had a player in the All-American game. Coach Boskin was one of the coaches in the All-American game. So to see what they've been able to do in just a year, and Coach Boskin has so much experience, but I'm excited to see what they do in year two. Something else real quick, I love the fact that our season last year came down to the final week for playoff seeding. Obviously, Tennessee Heat, Freedom Cowboys clinched number 1 seeds, but the number 2 seeds, it came down to the final week and those games mattered. And so, and Tri-Cities was a big part of that game that they had to play against Franklin Classical, it making it a competitive situation to where down to the wire, that it came down to the wire to see who got in. So I'm going to step aside, and we'll have Tri-Cities Christian in here in just a second.
We welcome first the representatives from Tri-Cities Christian, head coach Jeremy Buskin, and seniors Philip Birchfield and Josh White. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the opportunity to join us for Media Day. And I guess we'll start off if you guys have any opening statements or anything you want to talk about with just how it feels to be here with Media Day or heading into the Jamboree or season. Any opening thoughts you may have?
First and foremost, we're appreciative of just the opportunity to be a part of the conference. Last year being a brand new football program, and just being welcomed into the conference by the other coaches and our commissioner, and just being able to get games on the schedule. We had a lot of conferences we kind of looked at, but they really weren't willing to just let us in without a whole bunch of restrictions. And SEEC was very welcoming and allowing us to compete. And like you said earlier, we were playing in the last week to go to the possible playoffs kind of deal. And just our kids being the first year and 14 strong on the roster, and then being able to have that opportunity and that being that close is really kind of helped the off season with our kids and the different things they're doing and preparing, whether it be basketball or weightlifting or 7-on-7, whatever it may be. Just that opportunity that we had last year has really fueled the off season, and we're very appreciative for that.
Any opening thoughts, Philip or Josh? Anything?
Yeah, just happy to be here. Thank y'all for having us.
So you talked about this is now your second year as a program in existence, and you talked about the challenges lightly on starting a new program and looking for a conference to compete in. Could you delve more into what challenges you and the team faced for being a first-year program, and what sort of things do you think worked that you're ready to build off of heading into your second season?
Oh, you talk about obstacles. There's a lot of obstacles. I guess where we were at in Northeast Tennessee, there's not any 8-man teams around us. I mean, the closest one is probably about 3.5, 4 hours away. So it's kind of foreign to our area of the state of the actual 8-man game. So educating our area on it has been a challenge. There's no difference. And the ones that have come to the games, and we were fortunate to have SEEC come broadcast a game, our very first game live from our school. And I mean, all of our fans that were there, I mean, once the game's kicked off, you don't even know the difference. So educating our fan base in our area has been one challenge. And we're in an area also where, I mean, bloodlines run deep. They take football very serious, and being from the local high schools is a big deal. So we're being a brand new school, and us offering the opportunity to play football has been a challenge, kind of getting that rolling. But we've had an amazing offseason. It's opened a whole bunch of doors. It's kind of helped fuel the powerlifting team and the 7-on-7s and stuff like that, and it's really kind of catching wind. And we've been very fortunate with the success our kids have had in the offseason, that the news media is really kind of picking up, and some South Carolina teams were calling, and we kind of were fortunate enough to get some games with them and some Nashville games. So getting to kind of travel around has been doors that have opened up for our kids. We kind of look at it as not even being so much as a small high school, but we kind of treat it like a small college. I mean, we stay in hotels. I mean, we do walkthroughs in Cracker Barrel parking lot. So, I mean, our kids kind of love it. They get to bond, and seeing the roster kind of grow is really a tribute to the young men that are with us and our coaches, and them recruiting the hallways and the experiences they had. And it's kind of really brought us together and kind of fueled the fire, and it's growing.
Now, Philip and Josh, you as respective seniors, you're now leaders of your football program. What challenges do you think from your first year in 8-man football helped prepare you to now be leaders of your team heading into 2023?
Well, last year was a lot of teaching because a lot of the kids we played with hadn't ever really stepped on a football field before. So it was a lot of the basics and just trying to get them out there and learn to love the game and growing closer as a family together. And this year it feels a lot more different. We've set the foundation now, and we can really focus on getting better, and I think there's nothing but good things ahead.
Last year we did do a lot of teaching. This year we're just building more onto that, and we're getting better. We picked on new players, and hopefully this year we'll do a lot better than we did last year.
And make sure which one is Philip. Which one? Perfect. So, Philip, last year in your first year of the program, you received the honor of heading to Gatlinburg in the Rising Stars game. What did that mean to you to represent your program in its first year in existence, to head to Gatlinburg and receive that honor?
It was unexpected, I guess, him seeing that. And then it really helped spur his off-season. He's big into the powerlifting. As you can tell, he's a big old boy. He's hard to tackle. But just getting that dose and getting to play with those other guys, he was really able to kind of see, like, hey, I can do this, from my opinion, looking at it.
Josh, how did you and the rest of the players feel to see your brother, in essence, getting that honor?
Oh, it was great. And we had, he just graduated. His name was Micah Turner. He played in the All-American game. He was a great leader, and we're going to miss him a lot. But it was really cool to see that. I mean, we had all the guys on the live stream and everything supporting him. We had, I think, Chance Hawkins was there too. Was Slade there last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple guys. It was good to support all of them.
Coach, you mentioned that the rest of the coaches in the Southeastern Extreme Conference are very welcoming in helping you make that first step in joining a conference and launching the team. What have you learned most from each of the coaches during the brief time you've had with them and the conversations you've had leading up to this season?
I mean, I think we all kind of face, like, the numbers issue in football is always a challenge, a struggle. I mean, and these guys just – it's something. They're a sounding board. They're someone you can kind of vent to, or that you can kind of bounce ideas off of and see how they're doing it, because they're going through the same thing you guys are. And that was probably one of the biggest things. Is just, hey, how do you handle the X's and the O's, or the X's and the O's? It's more of the practices and, I mean, the substitutions. I mean, that was one of the biggest challenges I've seen coming to 8-man with a small roster. Is your backup D lineman may be a linebacker. When you move him, then you got to get a DB, and just the communication with coaches on substitutions and being able to bounce ideas off these guys has been really helpful.
And I'll hand it over to James Shannon for the questions he may have. None from James on that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Coach, as well as Philip and Josh. Best of luck to you all on the 2023 campaign.
We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And we will transition over. Next will be Franklin Classical School. We welcome you back to the Southeastern Extreme Conference Media Day for 2023. We are back here with James Shannon, the commissioner of the Southeastern Extreme Conference.
A word thing that goes here.
Yeah,
there's a word thing. Right
yeah, they're probably
just in case you don't know. I'm just kidding.
something that's on the hovering. But
Just kidding.
so, James, you talked about in your opening statement that that it was a challenge with the responsibilities, of course, you had to start the Southeastern Extreme Conference, but it was also heavy on your heart that you felt compelled to start this for multiple years. In the first year of the SEEC, what did you feel the conference did right?
I touched on it a little bit earlier with the Open, but one of the biggest things I think we did right was eliminate just the unnecessary amount of red tape that comes with a kid who's at a school that does not have football, or 2 or 3 kids or 4 kids at a school that doesn't have football, and making it easier for them to play. I think we did that right. I think we set up the rules. Obviously, everybody has to be age and grade eligible. You can't be 18 before August 1st, or 19 before August 1st. I'm sorry, you can't be 19 before August 1st. And of course, last year all the teams turned in their rosters, so the players were classified as what grade they were in. And this year, as the rosters start to come in, this is really the first year it'll take effect. But as the rosters start to come in, then it'll be verified that a kid on the official roster was labeled, was assigned as a junior. This year he'll be a senior. There's no redoing the junior year in terms of playing. We do have one caveat that if a player has not turned 19 yet and has not received his diploma, then he is allowed to play a 5th year. And that is only in a medical situation. It's got to be approved by every coach in the conference in our meeting, and they have to sign off on it and say yes, this kid, this guy, this boy is not, this young man is not 19 yet, and he did miss, let's say all of last year. Let's say a kid gets hurt in a jamboree, and has to miss his entire senior year. This is just an opportunity for him to get to have that senior year opportunity, because it's such a special thing for young men to be able to play their senior year. It meant a lot to me to be able to do it, and I know everybody who got a chance to play their senior year. It meant a lot. There's special memories that you make, and special opportunities you have that come with that. So I think we did that right, and the other thing I think we did right was to what was the other thing? I'm completely drawing a blank. I'll think about the other thing in a second. I'm completely blanking. But anyways, to introduce the next team, this is one of the oldest 8-man teams in the state of Tennessee, and had been in the other conference for a long time. And when I say they've been around, I think it was 2004, maybe 2005. I mean, like early as teams, like they helped start the other conference. So, but over the last few years, things have happened. And so when this opportunity was presented, they jumped right on it and jumped into the conference. And I was very excited to be able to have them in the conference as an older, established team. And then, when they joined the conference, they had a different head coach. And then during the off season last year, going into the first season, they hired a man who's been around the game for a long time and used to be at another 8-man school. And he took some time off. And then Franklin Classical brought him in. So Coach Steve Adams has really turned the program around and got them into the playoffs last year, with a very young team, but they had some good leadership. And, again, their quarterback went to the All-American game, and, they were able to build. They're going to be able to build on the things from last year. So very excited to have Franklin Classical School, the Knights, in the SEEC. So we'll step aside for just a second, get them here to the table, and then we'll get the questions to them.
We welcome Franklin Classical School's head coach Steve Adams, senior Oak Carty, and junior Caleb Manning. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. And we'll start off if you have any opening statements on any thoughts you have in terms of media day heading into the breaking news now canceled Jamboree, but through what you've seen through practice through the summers and what you look forward to in the 2023 campaign.
Towards me? All right.
Always a work in
We can put it
progress.
on.
Hey, man, I'm not going to put it on. Those days are long gone. But yeah, thanks for having us out here. Anything we can do to support, promote these young men and the 8-man football world is always a good thing. And I appreciate you guys doing this. Shannon and Spencer have been doing this for a long time. And we really appreciate you guys having us out here. And like I said, the 8-man game in Tennessee is growing, needs to grow more. I think it will grow more as we see more and more people, as Coach Boskin talked about, once people start getting educated on it, start learning more about it. Because I remember, 10 years ago when I was coaching 11-man football, I didn't know much about 8-man either. But I will say this about 8-man, because I was back in the 11-man world just 2 years ago, one of the biggest schools in Tennessee. And as a coach, I so much like the 8-man game better because of the smaller numbers. You get to teach and coach a lot more hands-on, and you get to know the kids, a lot better. You can build those relationships, more one-on-one time with them, and just get to know them better and get to hang with them, get them to hang with each other, bond as a team. And so, that's been really good. As far as what we've been doing over the summer, last year was my first year here at Classical, and then we've grown from that as far as roster-wise, and we've, that's another thing that's great about our league, as James said in the opening. Our league is, we're about the kids. We're about giving kids a chance to play this great sport, and anything we can do that, is within, fair competition, I think we should do it. To give every kid the chance to play this great game, and you guys do a great job with that. So we're excited to grow this thing and to get better this year. Unfortunately, the thing was canceled tonight, but we did get to play last night, and that went really well, and we'll just build off of that. So,
Oak and Caleb, if either of you have any opening remarks you'd like to make.
Yeah, I do like a thing about what he was saying. You get a good relationship with your coach and with your teammates. Is like you get to know all your teammates very well. And so that's nice, and it's really good. Like, you can ask any questions. You can always have endless questions.
and y'all do, which is good. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, first off, just, like, thanks for having us. It's a cool opportunity to come out here, be a part of Media Day. And then, I mean, as far as going into the season, what we've seen from the Jamboree last night and the team over the summer, I mean, I'm just excited to see how it's going, I mean, we have a young team, but we got a lot of talent. So, I'm excited to see. I feel like we're gonna surprise some people this season. So it's gonna be a good year.
So, Coach, you, of course, have been a head coach in the 8-man football game before. That was with the rival of the Franklin Christian Academy Falcons, and now in your new position in your second year. What have you enjoyed the most about being at the helm of the Knights football program?
Well, as a coach, you get, and I was talking to the guys on the way up here, how blessed that I've been to coach some really good kids, not just football players, but I'm talking about great kids, great families. And again, like I said in the beginning, I get to be with having a small number of kids, you get to really know them on a personal level. And that's the best thing, and that's why we do this. That's why we coach. It's to make a difference in these kids' lives, to grow them into young men. So you get, I think, as a head coach or an assistant coach in 8-man, you get that chance, to do that on a daily basis. So that's what I love most about it.
Oak, so now as a senior in your respective right, you've been with Classical for several years, and for you to now be a leader where you've looked up to others in the past, what does it mean to you to now be a senior leader and leading the team heading into the 2023 season?
I mean, it feels like a great honor, I mean, I feel really blessed to be coached by such great coaches and, to have such great teammates like Caleb to be able to play my senior season with. I mean, like I said, I feel honored to be able to, step up and be a leader, be a role model as someone who's been in the playing football for a couple years, been with the organization for a while, to be able to like, I guess, coach up some of the younger people who are newer to the sport. But I mean, I wouldn't want to do my senior season with anyone else. So yeah, I just feel really blessed.
Caleb, as a junior, you're of course stepping up into that leader role in your own right, and next year you'll be at the helm. What is your kind of when you talk around the guys in the locker room or on the practice field and everything? What's the team's mentality heading into the 2023 season?
Man, first it started off kind of rough. Like we're just like, oh man, we're gonna get killed this season. more and more players come. Like we've been praying, like Lord, give us more players.
Yes.
New players come every day, man. It's just like you can't make it up. Blessings, so many blessings. And I mean, and Oak, this kid, man, he wasn't a leader ever, but this year, this kid is a leader, man. Like he's stepping up to fill that role. He's getting everyone hyped, and he's like, we needed a leader. We haven't had one in a while, so. Yeah, I don't know where he picked it up, but he's doing a great job, man. He's being a great leader.
It's called
so.
being confident.
Thanks.
He's confident.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
And Coach, you mentioned you guys were able to participate in the Jamboree last night and
Yes.
get some reps. What did you like from your team in the 2 or 3 quarters that you played?
I like the fight we had. I like the fun that we were having. I told them that was a big thing, to go out, have fun. Have a lot of guys that have not played any football at all. So it was great to see them get under the lights. And we played 2 really, really well-coached, good football teams. So, you know, I told every guy on the team afterwards that, you know, hey, you just got better. You just got better tonight. And you're going to get better again tomorrow night. And unfortunately, that got canceled, but that's fine. We'll get back to work on Monday. But I saw some really good things. I had a starting quarterback, had never started a football game. Offensive lineman that had never started a football game. Some kids on defense that were playing their hearts out, you know. And so I saw a lot of good things.
James, if you don't have anything further, thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and
Thank you,
best of
man.
luck
Thank
to you on
you.
the 2023 campaign. We'll bring James up back in a little bit, and then next up it'll be the Tennessee Heat joining us. We welcome you back to Media Day 2023 for the Southeastern Extreme Conference. We're back with the commissioner himself, James Shannon. Very proud of the logo, as we all know. James, you talked about how impressive the host site of Zion Christian was for the championship this year, and you, of course, confirmed that this year they will be hosting the championship again. What discussions have you and the coaches had about hosting the conference championship, either on a rotational basis or at a college or any other sort of neutral sites to give others that opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a college situation, a college hosting the championship game would be awesome. It would be an awesome opportunity for the young men to get to play on that stage. The biggest reason I think that we went with a host school hosting the championship is really just, you know, these are smaller schools, smaller programs, and so any way that we can help them financially is awesome. So them getting the money back from hosting the championship and you know, the financials of helping them out, you know, towards their football program. I think that's the biggest reason we've gone with the host schools. Obviously, we've talked to every school. Me and every coach have talked. We have some great venues. Tennessee Heat's field over at Charlie Daniels Park. They're building that up, and eventually down the road they're going to get more seating, possibly a bigger field, expand the field a little bit. I think they have a great setup right now. Freedom Cowboys have a great situation. The seating is a little more limited. Obviously, with Zion being a former 11-man team, former TSSAA, they're going to have a little more seating, bigger stands, so to hold more people. So being able to have that as an option has been awesome. Franklin Classical playing at Freedom Intermediate Field, decent seating. And so we've talked about rotating. Who am I leaving out? Sacred Heart. I think the biggest thing, and Tri-Cities as well. And I think Tri-Cities is trending towards having a very nice facility that they're working on building right now. But I think one of the biggest things we have to look at with a championship game is the seating, is the capacity, being able to give people a place to sit and watch the game and enjoy the concessions and cheer on their young men. And not have to bring their own seating. Some people would rather do that. Sometimes it's very nostalgic and very cool to have that kind of feeling of everybody in the camping chairs on the side of a hill, and different places have that. And I'm not saying that's bad, but for that to be an option, and then also be the option of, hey, you can just come to the game and there's going to be seats for you. Like, that's the biggest thing in terms of looking at where to host a championship game. And so I think sometimes that's very overlooked, and you just focus on sometimes it can be a politics game of we want this school to host, or not all the logistics around it are looked at, and really it's just travel or politics. So for us to be able to have an option like Zion, and again, like I said, last year they ran the game. They put the game on. Obviously, 8-Man Extreme did the broadcast side and the production side of it, but the logistics side that Zion handled, from the gate to concessions to just having people work the game, they did an amazing job with it, and so very, very proud for them to be able to come back and do it again.
We'll hear more from Commissioner Shannon once we get through the rest of the media day, but I feel James has something else he wants to address.
Well, I was going to introduce the next team.
Yeah.
Tennessee Heat, another one of those older teams, just like Classical. I believe they helped start the other conference as well. And Tennessee Heat being homeschool only, it's been very cool to see the way they've been able to help young men, and then just getting to know Coach Ryan Scott and his coaching staff and the families at that program. Such a giving program, such a friendly program, and so and I relate a little closer, being homeschooled. So there's a lot of relativity there, but that reflects on all the teams in our conference, whether they have an umbrella school for homeschoolers or it's a program that kind of is geared towards homeschool football players. It's a big deal to have a place where they feel welcomed and wanted. And so Tennessee Heat are one of the premier programs for that, especially in this area. Obviously, there's other schools that have umbrella programs, including Franklin Classical School. A lot of homeschoolers tend to play there. But, especially, like I said, in this area, they are one of the premier places to go if you're homeschooled and you want to play football. They were one of the driving forces behind really wanting to have an option to give their kids a chance to play for a championship and be in a postseason. And obviously you have Florida NHSA, but on a local level to be able to have a championship to play for. So very excited to have them in the conference, and they've obviously been a strong competitor, runners-up in our championship game last year. They went to Florida. And I think they called it technically the Division II. They won. They won a game and they lost a game. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year. And I know they were in the Jamboree last night. I didn't get to see them last night, and I won't get to see them tonight. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do this year.
We welcome the Tennessee Heat head coach Ryan Scott, senior Dustin Danilitis, and senior Jeremiah Curtis. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. If you want to start off with any opening thoughts you have on Media Day, Jamboree last night, and thoughts of anything you're looking forward to in the 2023 campaign.
Yeah, appreciate it, Spencer, James. Thank you guys for doing this today. We're just thrilled to be a part of it. Glad that we can support not only this day, but also everything the SEEC Conference is trying to do. As James just said, it's just something we're thrilled that you guys stepped up to help us be a part of something that really does benefit and bless our boys, but our heart as an organization, our heart as a football program is not just a take for ourselves. And although it's a benefit to us, we hope that teams like the Freedom Cowboys, who we invited to be a part of and decided to join last year, and Tri-Cities, as we've heard, and Franklin Class School and Zion and other schools, that we feel like the SEEC Conference is blessing in so many ways, because we all just kind of share, I think, that cultural idea that football really is such a great teaching platform for young men in the world. Every year that it seems like life goes on, every year it just becomes more and more clear how needed and desperate the world is for young men to be trained to be warriors for Christ and to learn how to battle and fight the righteous causes that need men to step into that trench and go to battle for those things. So football just really pulls that out of young men, really teaches them how to win in life and how to lose in life in a way that honors their family and their friends and ultimately their Creator. So we're just so glad that we're here this year in year two. We're excited. We have a lot of anticipation for the season. Got a great group of guys that have put in the hard work and have really built us to where we are. We got a lot of things we still want to accomplish, but we're going to just focus on, now it's not the Jamboree, we're going to focus on Lancaster Christian coming this Friday. So,
Dustin, Jeremiah, if you have any opening thoughts. All right. Well, we'll start out with Dustin. So last year, with you guys, this is the first year you part with the Southeastern Extreme Conference, and last year you got the honor of being all SEEC wide receiver. What did that honor mean to you to be recognized on that list?
I'm not really sure. It was just kind of like a shocker, honestly, for me, just because I wasn't really expecting it, because I know we had a bunch of other great guys in that group. So just getting that honor was just kind of like a shocker to me, honestly, especially with all the talent around me.
And Jeremiah, last year you had that similar honor on the All-SEC, but you were honored as an offensive lineman. What did that mean to you with the work you've put in to be honored for that position?
Really, it just meant to me, just all my friends and everything, all the guys that came before me that helped me to get there. It was like, it wasn't just me that earned it. It was all the people who had taught me and had built me up to what I was.
And what was your experience like participating in the All-American game in December?
Fun, able to hang out with the Cowboys, Lighthouse, and all the guys there. Just really be able to make some more friends that are enemies on the field, but afterwards, just best friends.
You know, Coach, I think back to 2016. Tennessee Heat had to co-op with Hendersonville Christian, and the program itself was, lack of a better word, on its kind of last life in trying to regroup and reorganize. 2017, you took over at the helm, started the program, certainly had struggles going through there, but the Tennessee Heat has been revitalized. Would you have ever thought in 2016 with that co-op that now you're at the point that the Heat is now with having its own venue and packing the entirety of Charlie Daniels Park on homecoming days?
oh boy, this is going to sound really, really arrogant. So I don't mean to sound this way, but I've tried to live my life, and I try to live my life in a posture of anticipating and expecting great things from the Lord. And I've had, I wasn't intending to ever be the Heat football coach. I think, James and I have a history even before I took the head coaching job of just knowing what the program was going through, the transitions Tennessee Heat has had to work through. And at that moment, really, I was coaching the baseball program when our coach had to leave in the summer, June, right before the football season. We had 12 boys that wanted to play in 2016. And so instead of folding the program, I said, you know what, I'd rather put my golf clubs away and go play some football. And so it was really, I had no intention of just anything other than just keeping the program alive. And so I agreed to co-op with HCA. Our boys made great friends. Coach, their head coach, Daniel Meek, thank you. Good friend, good guy, and just was a great season for us. And when I say that it doesn't sound very humble, we just really have had high aspirations and expectations, but it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of doors that God has opened. Like you mentioned, City of Mount Juliet just completely blessed our socks off with the facilities we have, and so just some incredible sacrifices, a lot of generous people to get us where we are today, and we're going to make something of that. We have a high expectation on ourselves.
And you talk about the city of Mount Juliet surrounding you. For those who don't know, in 2019, prior, your home stadium was at Mount Juliet Christian Academy, and then when the tornadoes came through the area, the stadium was, in essence, leveled and unplayable. So you turned to Charlie Daniels Park to host your games there. And from that, from the conversations that you've had, it turned out to be a blessing in that regard, because it's starting to be now your home venue. And James talked about this with the potential of other member schools hosting the championship. With the revitalizations you're doing to Charlie Daniels Park, how excited are you for the potential to very likely host the conference championship in a few years' time?
Yeah, just honored that, I think I didn't know all the teams that were going to end up being in the SEEC conference. Again, our friends in Huntsville at Freedom, again, great relationship. We've modeled a lot of things that we want to be as a program around them, other programs in the region, but seeing where we are located in Mount Juliet and the teams that surround now in the SEEC conference, would love to contribute like Zion did last year to make it a better experience and memories for kids. And again, City of Mount Juliet opened up the doors to a park that had kind of been abandoned, or a location, a field, because of the junior football program here had moved to Mundy Park on the other side of town. And so God just kind of brought us there at the right time, actually took one of our original board members and he got the job as the head of the park management. And some of our other families knew other people. So just all these doors opened up at the right time where we could honor and serve the needs of the city, to revitalize that location and make it something that would be a great place for young people to get to play and learn great things, but also just maybe hopefully do some things like you're talking about where we can take it to the next level. We just had the opportunity this year to open up and serve the old high school. Mount Juliet High School is now Mount Juliet Middle School. Their field was kind of deteriorating, so we dropped 60 tons of sand on it, fertilized it, aerated it, and they let us use that for our 11-man game. So we have access now to a stadium right next door, so we could, if we needed to, we could host it right there and would have permission to do it. So it's just really great that the SEEC Conference has teams like Zion and other teams that might have the opportunity to give us options and just to create an exciting atmosphere at the end of the season.
So Dustin and Jeremiah, you guys, obviously the Jamboree getting canceled tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were in the Jamboree last night with Franklin Christian. What were your biggest takeaways from participating in the Jamboree last night?
We were at the CCS Jamboree last night.
That's right, yeah.
I think for me, it's also kind of like just kind of preparing for a great season that God has ahead of us. So we get to see like what the competition is going to look like this year, and it looks like it's going to be really good. So we're just getting super excited for it, and then just getting ready for the season. Yeah.
Just being able to play football with friends, to just get not practice, but to get the essence of what the season's going to bring, and to just be ready and prepared for that.
If James doesn't have any other questions, I think we're good. Appreciate you gentlemen joining us, and best of luck on the 2023 campaign. We'll transition back to James in a moment as we prepare to bring up the defending conference champion Freedom Cowboys. And we welcome you back again to the Southeastern Extreme Conference Media Day of 2023. We're joined again by the commissioner himself, James Shannon. And Commissioner, certainly with the first year of the Southeastern Extreme Conference, there was a lot of talks of how many teams are going to be in the conference, how many are interested in not just believing in our vision, but giving the players what they want and having a players first approach. What sort of conversations did you have in the 2023 offseason with other schools or other programs to potentially join since of course the same number of schools and same member schools from last year have come to this year? But what sort of conversations did you have about potential expansion?
Yeah. So the deadline to join the conference is January the 30th. The first year was a little bit different because it was kind of trying to just get our feet about us, get our footing, and get teams in. And obviously that's why the membership was so fluid right before the first season. Just as a recap, we were going to start with 5 teams, had 2 teams drop, and then we had we had Zion and Memphis Nighthawks drop. So we were down to Franklin Classical, Tennessee Heat, and Sacred Heart. And then I had asked, of course, Freedom Cowboys have been independent for as long as they've been a program. And then Tri-Cities Christian had just started their program, and I knew they were going to be independent. And so I reached out to the remaining coaches, Coach Scott, Coach Blankenship, and Coach Adams, and I said, hey, are y'all opposed if I reach out to Tri-Cities and Freedom and see if they're interested in joining? Obviously, both of them not close to Nashville. I think Tri-Cities is 4.5 hours, and then you lose an hour going out there, and then Freedom, it's not as bad. It's 2 hours down the road from Nashville. So, but there is some travel involved, and so I asked the coaches. They said, yeah, absolutely, invite them in. The same day, Zion reached back out and said, hey, the plan that we had did not work out. We just brought a new coach in, and he wants to know, why we're leaving 8-man in the condition that our program is in. They brought in Coach Kurt Bethard, and so got a chance to extend an invite to the 2 schools and re-extend it to Zion, bring the 3 of them in, and then kind of sort it out real quick into a divisional structure. To keep from, the obviously with how widespread we are, you've got Sacred Heart. Let's see on this screen, it'd be Sacred Heart over here in Jackson, and Tri-Cities over here in Bluntville. So, to keep them from having to cross the state and play each other, unless it's a playoff situation, to try to make it a little bit easier on the teams. That was cool to be able to do that. So I think I got way off base from your question, but yeah, I would love to add more teams. I'll say it here on air: we do not recruit schools, we do not poach schools. Obviously, the opportunity is there. And schools, I feel, especially after this first year and the success we had, I think schools are aware of SEEC, and they know that that's an option. If you're a school out there, especially in the state of Tennessee and Alabama, and obviously part of the reason we named it the SEEC, the Southeastern Extreme Conference, is it's not going to be limited to just Tennessee. Who knows what's going to happen down the road in terms of having maybe divisions in other states, and then the playoffs being those divisions playing each other. However it plays out, but the important thing is if you're a program that's interested in giving kids the opportunity to play ball without all the red tape, then I think we're the perfect destination for you. And like I said, not every team is going to fit. Not every school and every program is going to fit the parameters of every conference. So, this is really a conference for those who don't fit into a conference. You look at, Tennessee Heat again, all homeschool team. Sacred Heart has had players on the team from one of the local high schools that does not have a football program. Zion Christian having some homeschool players on the team, and then them trying to put a team together. Freedom Cowboys being a program that has homeschool and some private school kids that don't have the opportunity to play football. So, again, we're a conference for those that don't fit in a conference. And again, the most important thing at the end of the day is giving the kids an opportunity to play ball. And so that's what SEEC is all about. And that's what's most important on these coaches' hearts and minds, as well as mine and the athletic directors, making it happen for them and really focusing on them, making them the center point of competition. So without further ado, the final team we've got today, they are our defending conference champions. And, of course, that means nothing for 2023 in terms of product on the field. But that fact remains. They are the defending champs. So Freedom Cowboys had never been in a conference in the history of their program, to my knowledge. And honestly didn't know really what to expect. With that being the case, whenever I extended the invitation to them, obviously they've been able to go to Florida and play in the NHSA tournament, and so that was kind of their postseason. And to be able to give them an opportunity to play for a title, and then to see the strong team that they had last year, the great seniors they had that had been there for a while, they just stepped up and they handled business. And then to have in the first year of your conference, to have your defending champion go to Florida and play for a national championship, regardless of the outcome, is still it's still pretty cool. And it's cool to be able to have your champion go down there, your champion and your runner-up go to Florida, but to have your champion play for a national championship and have them willing to make that trip and play in that event is really, really cool. So really thankful for Freedom being in the conference. I think it gives a good amount of not legitimacy but weight. I mean, they are a strong competitor. So when you look at a Zion Christian or a Sacred Heart who's in the same division as them, you can look at it and go, yes, it was a loss, but they played Freedom. Freedom's really good, so they're that team on that level. And I know every school and every program wants to get on that level. Freedom's there right now, so really, really cool to be able to have them in the SEEC. And we'll hear from Coach Kyle Collins and his two players here in just a second.
We welcome the first ever and defending conference champions for the Southeastern Extreme Conference to Media Day, head coach Kyle Collins, senior Bram Day, and sophomore Jalen Venter. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll start off if you have any opening thoughts on Media Day, your participation in the Jamboree last night at CCS, and any thoughts you have heading into the 2023 campaign.
Well, I'll go ahead and start and ditto what everybody else has said. We appreciate y'all so much. I mean, there's not a lot of coverage on 8-man football, but what you do for these young men get them some exposure. I've said this 1,000 times. I think it's great. It's great to get up here and rub shoulders with some of the kids and also some of the other coaches. And so that's been a lot of fun. And so once again, thank you for that opportunity. With regard to last night, it was a lot of fun. As all of you know, we've lost a lot of our production, and we had a chance last night to see what we had. And, you know, we're encouraged by what we saw.
Jalen Bram, if you have any opening thoughts.
I just want to thank y'all for having us here, and this is a great opportunity that I want to take good care of, and I hope that I'm invited to many more.
Yeah, I just want to say y'all have brought a lot of light onto the 8-man world, and just a lot of thanks given there for that.
Coach, James has talked about this several times about the Freedom Cowboys have never been in a conference, traditionally independent, and even through that continue to be the standard or one of the standards of 8-man football. For those who haven't known, what was the conversation like between you and, of course, the athletic director, Coach Kyle Gochman, and Kevin Gochman? What was the conversation like for you guys to decide to join a conference for the first time?
Well, it was pretty simple. Number one, we've talked about this. We're here for the young men. We're here, and Coach Ryan said it perfectly. It's all about bringing young men to know how to be better men and to be men in Christ. So what did we do? We went to our senior leadership council, and we said, we have this opportunity, totally up to you guys. If you say yes, we do it. If you say no, we don't. They said, more games, let's play. And it was really that simple.
And you've also, every year, even without being in a conference, you've gone down to Florida. What does that opportunity continue to be like for you and the players to not just go down to Florida in November, but to have even more games and compete for a national championship?
Well, quite honestly, that was our only postseason opportunity. You have a great year, you have the opportunity. You not have a great year, your year was over. This provided us a championship opportunity outside of that. And so going to Panama City has been just wonderful for the organization. We've been down there, I think, 4 times, 5 times. We have yet to bring home the trophy that we went down there for, but it's been a great opportunity, fun for the kids, and obviously the opportunity to play more games and to try to win a championship.
And Jalen, as a sophomore, of course, Coach has a lot of confidence and trust in you to bring you not just to Media Day, but to represent the organization. What does it mean to you to have Coach Collins believe in you?
It's a very big opportunity for him to really have faith in me to come down here and show support to my team. And it gives me the faith to play hard every game and want to get better for my teammates and for my coaches and my family every day.
And Bram, as a senior now, you're one of the leaders of your team, and with you being with the Freedom Cowboys for a while, you've been able to see those different leaders in the senior position. Which leaders have shaped you the most in how you want to represent your team?
So definitely Oliver Johnson and Tristan Martone were 2 of my biggest, role models. And they're 2 of my really good friends right now, still coaching me through it and figuring out where to go and everything. And it was definitely really scary leaving them or them leaving us. But I'm very grateful for them to still be there for me.
Coach, you've had the privilege of coaching and mentoring so many great athletes over the years at the Freedom Cowboys. Which ones stand out most in your mind as ones that have been the most special?
Well, that's very difficult to tell you among probably 500 kids that I've coached which ones are the best. The ones that come to mind is the ones that Bram has already mentioned here. But we've had scores of them, Spencer, through the years that are absolutely incredible. And so Oliver Johnson's one of them. Tristan, Joshua Butler from a couple of years ago comes to mind. A guy that I've called Charlie Brown his whole life, but his real name is Lovett, and I called his parents Mr. and Miss Brown one time. So, I mean, I could go on and on. I really would not want to single anybody out because I'll leave somebody off the list.
And the 2022 campaign, you guys were fortunate enough to win the SEEC Conference Championship and head down to Florida as runner-ups. What was your final assessment of the 2022 season?
In the last 2 years, we are 24-4, and we've been beat by one football team. So my assessment is we've been really, really blessed with a good core of kids, and in spite of their coach, we've been very, very successful. And it's been a lot of fun, but at the same time of a great disappointment that we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve. So bottom line is last year is gone. The 2023 is here. It's a different bunch of kids. When you look at our roster today, okay, we've got 2 kids, one of which is here, that played a majority of the meaningful snaps in the competitive games. The rest of our team is very inexperienced, and we feel like we've got a good core of undeveloped talent, okay, that if we can season and we can coach well, we'll have an opportunity to have a really good football team this year.
And you touched a little bit on this, but you mentioned would you say that's the biggest challenge that you have for this campaign, is that you only have a minimal amount of players who played the majority of meaningful snaps last year heading into this year?
I would tell you the biggest challenge is not finding undeveloped talent and developing it, because those kids are motivated. They've been trying to get there for years. It's a lot more challenging to have teams like I had last year where everybody thinks they're God's gift to football and we've got to keep their feet on the ground, okay? So the bottom line is, yes, this year is a totally different approach. We're doing things differently at practice, but we're getting some kids ready. Last night in the Jamboree, we played this first game, and you could tell the inexperience was showing itself all over the place. By the time we got in the second game, kids were more comfortable, they were relaxed, and they were more confident, and they were playing. And I had already told them in the previous days, you're not going to be as good in games 1, 2, and 3 as you're going to be in 6, 7, and 8, just because we've got this undeveloped talent that hasn't had the experience. We're going to get the experience, and it's exciting to see what we're going to turn into.
And I briefly touched on this with Coach Scott and talking about their home environment with Charlie Daniels Park. And in your guys' case, you also have a similar setup where you have a park with Parks and Rec down in Huntsville that has turned into your home. And we with A-Band Extreme, we've been privileged enough to be down there a couple of times, and just to see the packed stands where even the minimal amount of seating, you have people setting up lawn chairs and picnic blankets and everything, just crowding the field and surrounding the entirety of the stadium. What does your fan base mean to you to have that amount of support, not just at home games, but even on the road?
Well, let's we're people of truth. Let's just talk about honesty. The college game and the NFL game has become monetized. It has become incredibly, I would say, it become incredibly tainted in a lot of ways, okay? When you come to see the Freedom Cowboys play, or the Tennessee Heat, Franklin Classical, I could go on, you're coming to see football in its purest form. Mm-hmm. You're coming to see a bunch of young people who are playing for the love of the game and the love of each other. Mm-hmm. And I want people to experience that. My brother, I have an older brother, came to a game several years ago, and he was blown away because he had forgotten what it was like just to play the game for the love of the game. Our kids are playing for each other, and because they just want to play. Yes, some of them may get scholarships, some of them may go on and play, but the vast majority of these young men are never going to play football again. And so when these fans show up, they're seeing something that is full of family. They're seeing something that is fun. We have young kids, playing cup football over next door. And that is really Americana at its best. And that's what we're trying to tell. Hey, forget all the troubles that are going on in this country. Just come on a Friday night, spend some time with us. We're going to fight fiercely against whoever our competition is. We're going to play as hard as we can. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be the best talent that's ever been expressed out there, but we're going to have a good time, and you are too.
Bram and Jalen, any anything you'd like to add to the amount of fans that show up to your games and just the energy you feel whenever you're on the field?
Last year, we went down there to Florida, and unfortunately, we didn't win it. We run-ups. But something that really helped me throughout the game playing was the fans. Every time we did something big, they cheered us on. If we was down, they just scored a touchdown, they were still cheering. And I just like to thank the fans through all the things they have done these past few years. I've really felt the love of them coming out here, watching me play. My mom, she came to my first football game ever last year, and that really hit me personally because she never usually comes to my games, and her coming down here made me want to shout even more, and I just really appreciate the fans.
I feel like our fan base is really close-knit group. I feel like it's given me a good group of friends to hang around with and get to know each other, and it just brings like a family feel into football.
James doesn't have any further questions to add. We'd like to thank you all for your time and best of luck to you on the 2020
And I got
season.
one more thing
Sure.
to say, as you would think that I probably would. I want to thank these two guys for coming up. I mean, I could have picked any of a number of young men. They came up. They had to change their entire schedules around. As Coach Ryan said, the whole purpose of this is not about football. It's about life after football.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these poor kids get preached at all the time. They probably don't listen to me anymore. But 2 or 3, 4 years from now, they're going to remember some of these famous sayings that Coach Collins has said. And that's because they're loved. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. And so thank you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, time to wrap things up here at the first ever Southeastern Extreme Conference Media Day. We'll have the Commissioner James Shannon with us one last time. And James, I'll close with this. I'm sure you got some closing sentiments and thank yous to give. But last question I can think of, what message would you have to schools that are on the fence or programs that are thinking about starting an 8-man program or current programs that are waffling at the idea of the Southeastern Extreme Conference being a thing? What message do you have to those that are on the fence about potentially joining SEEC?
Well, I'll address the schools that are on the fence about inquiring about SEEC or joining the conference. Really just do what's best for your kids. I'll be honest, if it's not best for your kids to be in SEEC, I don't know why, but if it's not best for your kids to be in SEEC, then don't join. Don't inquire. But if you realistically take a step back and look at the facts and you see that, hey, this is going to benefit these kids, and you weigh the pros and cons and the pros outweigh the cons, then you got to do it. Reach out. My number is very accessible. We're on social media. You just shoot a DM. Reach out to one of the coaches who are in the conference. Find out from them what it's like to be in SEEC. And hopefully they'll have good things to say. But I would say to schools that are maybe thinking about, either starting a program or making the switch to 8-man, at the core of this, and Coach Ryan Scott said it, Coach Steve Adams said it, Coach Kyle Collins, Coach Jeremy Boskin, I know if Coach Blankenship and Coach Bethard were here, they would say the same thing, that it's about the kids and giving them a chance to play. And at the root of this, all of us adults that are involved with this, we've all had our time to shine. We've all had our moment, and now it's time for us to step back and facilitate these young men to have that opportunity as well. I said it before at the very beginning, when adults interject themselves into youth athletics, it really becomes a mess. And so for as much as the adult, obviously you got coaches who have to coach, and you have to have some administrative functions, but again, too much can be too much. So just think about the kids, keep them front and center, keep them obviously keep God front and center, but in terms of what to do for your program, try to keep the kids front and center, and just make it about them. Give them as many opportunities as possible to play the game that they love. First off, to kind of wrap this up, put a bow on it, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching, wherever you are. Obviously, if you're a Zion and a Sacred Heart fan or parent, you weren't able to see your coaches and players today, and to apologize about that. Had some situations come up. But I do want to give a huge thank you to the coaches who were here as well. Coach Boskin, Coach Scott, Coach Adams, and Coach Collins. Coach Boskin driving in from Blunteville, and I know with the Jamboree being canceled tonight at CCS, if they weren't playing in that Jamboree, part of the reason for coming up and part of the reason we did this today and at the time that we did was so that everybody could get up to the Jamboree. And if you're playing in it, you could get all your guys ready. If you weren't, you could stop, grab a bite to eat, go up there, scout some teams, shake some babies, kiss some hands. But the Coach Boskin driving up from Blunteville, Coach Collins driving up from Huntsville after already being up this way to play in the FCA Jamboree last night. I want to give a huge thank you to them. Coach Adams his team playing in the Jamboree last night and then turning around and adding this on their schedule on top of originally playing in the Jamboree tonight. So I want to give a big thank you to them. A big thank you to Complete Real Estate for letting us use their office to do the media day, and for them doing an awesome job hosting and putting this on. I'd like to give a big thank you to Spencer for coming back for a little one-off. I think he'll be back probably doing some broadcasts here down the road.
Maybe next week.
Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I'd like to give him a big thank you for the work he put into getting ready to host it and coming in and handling that duty. That's really about it. That's all the thing. Obviously, I'd be remiss again. Big thank you to my wife, who is, Spencer.
I was about to, if you didn't thank her, it was about to be a problem.
Big thank you to her for putting up with me and being supportive of everything. Obviously, this year is not going to be as busy as last year, but being supportive of everything and really helping me, being my better half. So, big thank you to her, and I think that's about it. I
thank the kids.
Love you guys. Not gonna thank you. I think that's about it. But yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to these schools, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this season, 2023 season. Again, I think we are the Big Ten of 8-man football. If the other, I will concede there is another conference. In the real world of college football, I do think the SEC is the best conference, and I'm going to be realistic. I'd like to say we're the best conference, but we have a couple areas to work on. But we're a strong conference. I'll give us Big Ten. So.
All right, special thanks to all the coaches and players that were able to make their way out to Mount Juliet. Again, to thank you to Complete Real Estate, to Commissioner Shannon for getting this all coordinated and taken care of. And that will wrap up the first ever edition of the Southeastern Extreme Conference Media Day. And
I haven't been able to do this in a while, so go ahead.
And James, of course, has his because he probably won't be able to do this until his next broadcast or something like that. Take us away, Commissioner.
See ya!